Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Tyler, and we don't have Jim. What's up, Ty Ty?
Jim's on the road, but the real workers are here, my friend.
As always, we show up. We're here.
You know what? Come to think of it, I don't think I've missed an NS9 Live this year. You have. Jim has.
Did I?
Oh, you've definitely missed them.
When?
You were in Orlando.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Then there's Tyler. He's just slow and steady wins the race. He's here every week.
And you even showed up a few times for Starbucks when he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cornerstone right here. I think that should wipe out any time I might have fallen asleep for a post-game show.
We did just talk about that like last week.
Yeah.
That one time Tyler just happened to fall asleep on the couch, and I was sitting here wondering what's going on. But yeah, so we're back. We're back in the house. Another NS9 Live. Before we continue, of course, let's let everyone know BetOnline is your number one source for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind in one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, of course, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, the game starts here. So let's get this show going, because the Pirates are coming.
Shirt, man. Can we just start with the shirt?
Oh, yeah. We want to start with the shirt. So I got a story of this shirt, but
that's fantastic.
So I get a package in the mail today from Spreadshirt. And obviously, if you guys would like to purchase any North Shore 9 shirts on Spreadshirt, you can do so as well. But I know I didn't make any purchases on an NS9 shirt today or anytime soon or shortly. So I asked my wife, and I was like, is this for you? Because I had her name on it too. Like, is this for you? And she's like, oh, I think. you think? She's like, I don't know. I might have ordered something. I don't remember. But now, granted, there's packages on our doors like all the time. If you know her in Amazon, I mean, just all the time. So part of me is like, you know what? You probably could have ordered a shirt and not even remember. But I'm like, whatever. So, and as you know, we're packing tonight because we have let me promo something else, a tailgate this Saturday, Ty.
Yeah.
So if you haven't RSVP'd, go ahead and do so. We'll see you Saturday for those who have. Sponsored by, catered by Permane Brothers. But I'm packing because I got a flight tomorrow morning. I mean, I got to leave here at 4:30 a.m. So she's like, can you help? Yeah, I know. So can you help me? I can't zip this. And I'm sitting here trying to set up the show at the time. Mind you, I'm going back and forth all night long, trying to set up the show. Can you help me zip this? And I'm frustrated because it's like the third time I've already left trying to set up the show. And I'm like, you can't zip a suitcase? No, I need help. I can't zip this. I am going to kill you. Zip up the damn suitcase. So I get up, I walk on over, and she's just sitting there like all, like bright-eyed or whatever. Like, I had the damsel in distress. I can't do this. And I look down and I see this shirt. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? I'm like, how did you get this? And she's like, Zach sent it to me. And I'm looking at her like, how do you know Zach? Like, think about it. Like, I know she knows of Zach, right? Pittsburgh Clothing Company.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh no, we're like best friends now. We've been talking for like 2 weeks. He's like, for DiNardo, I got you. So he sent, so shout out also to Zach from Pittsburgh Clothing Company, sent my wife and myself the shirt. So this is a 2 of 2, Tyler.
That is awesome. Truthfully, that is awesome. And shout out to Jonquil there.
Yeah.
She kept a secret, and not myself in Ohio could hear her keeping it.
I know.
Normally,
right?
I can hear her a mile away at least, or 1,000, or however far we are. I don't actually.
Yeah,
know.
she's loud. She's loud. By the way, she will be at the tailgate as well, so
Wait,
everyone will
really?
have a chance to hear her. Yeah, you're gonna finally meet her.
I
like,
get to meet
person.
Jonquil?
Yeah.
Or as Cody says, Jonquil?
You've heard her for like 7 years now through our headsets in our late night conversations on PS5 or whatever. Yeah, she's loud.
Oh, I'm excited now. I was kind of like, tailgate's kind of a pain in the butt. Like, it's gonna be hot. Jonquil's there? We're in, baby. I'm excited now.
Right. But anyways, so yeah, that's the story of the shirt. So again, Zach, appreciate it. Also, Andrew McCutcheon, I appreciate it. If it wasn't for you not swinging the bat, bud, this wouldn't have been done.
See inspiration.
There it is. Anywho, so what are we going to talk about tonight?
Whew, we have a lot to get to, but maybe no, there's some substance to a lot of it. Like, there's not as much going on right now as there maybe was in previous years because we don't have a Super 2 guy coming up right now. Normally, at this point, we would be expecting Paul Skeens to be coming up.
Yeah.
Those guys are already up. So now it's just straight ahead, baby.
Pirates are 2 games under 500. Right smack dab in third place in NL Central. Right smack dab in the wild card race. The race of every team but 2. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Can I just touch on that real quick? Because I feel like we keep talking about how the Pirates are in the mix and they're in the mix and they're in the mix. And they really are. At some point, this team has to get hot. You got to run 7, 8 in a row off. You got to sweep some teams. 2 out of 3 is great. But when you have a stretch like they did previously, you have to get hot. And you got to run off 7, 8 in a row. With this pitching rotation right now, I don't know if it's really possible because you get through 3 and it's But I feel like they really have to get on a hot streak here. That's how they cement themselves into that mix. Right now, they're kind of outside looking in, like, we can get there, but we're just kind of hanging around the outside. We're here. Come say hi to us, like me at the tailgate this weekend is going to be in a corner. That's the Pirates right now. Waiting for someone to come say hi to me.
So here's where I disagree. Now, obviously, if you win 7 or 8 in a row, you have put yourself in a good position. I'm not discounting that. You are correct in saying if you win 7 or 8 in a row, you're in a good position, right? That is true. But what I am going to say is I don't look at it as like they have to do that. And I'm not like really putting words in your mouth. Like they don't have to win 7, 8 in a row in order to be there. There's still enough series ahead of them. So I'm looking here right now. They have Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, Atlanta, right? So there's 3 series left in June. When you go to July, Cardinals, Mets, Brewers, White Sox. So there's 4, right? So we're at 7. Phillies, Cardinals, Diamondbacks, and then Astros. So like they do just have to win series because the fact that everyone is all jumbled, everyone is about a 500 team. If you can start being a 66% team, you can separate from the pack. And we talked about this on Starbucks, Jim kind of dove into it. It's really, they're teams that if you're going to be real, right, and contend, they're teams that you should be looking to defeat, right? You're not going to go up against the Yankees and Dodgers of the world. You're going up against the Cardinals and the Mets and the Brewers, which, of course, the Mets are on fire right now. Thank you, Grimace. The White Sox. So, like, they're teams that you can beat. So this is the opportunity where if you can just start getting back to winning series again, I think they can do that.
But I think they have won some like they've won a handful of series here in a row. I just don't know how
so that's
long.
why they're
I don't know
2
how long
games
they
under
can
500,
rely
not
on
5.
that though. Like at some point, maybe not the streak is the right way to put it, but they got to win like 12 or 15, 10 or 12, something like that. They got to go on a little bit of a run here where they can put themselves above 500, especially with what we got coming up where they're going to run into some divisional teams. They got to run off some games here.
But look, with that said, they play the Rays next.
Tough.
That's a series you could win, especially with
Gonna
Jones
be
and
tough.
Skeens pitching.
Still
What's
gonna be
that?
tough. Still gonna be
It
tough.
could be, but they're not that good. They're if this is the NL, like they're one of the teams in the NL that the Pirates are just hanging around with, right? Then you have the Reds again. Now it is in Cincinnati this time, but you did just take 2 out of 3. They win those 2 series, they're a 500 team. Like, they are there.
But you have to win those 2 series. You can't go 2-3 and then 1-2. Like, that's mediocrity. You have to find a stretch here where you can get hot.
That's fair.
And really what I'm getting at here is you can't throw away games like they have done. It feels like they've thrown away a few games to set themselves up to get another series. Like, you win the first 2 and then, we got 2 out of 3. Let's line up for the next one. It feels like that happens too often.
Yes, in different ways. What I will give credit to, and what I have liked from Shelton, is he has capitalized when they have won, which has led to the throwing away the third series, right? They've had to win the first, they've had to lead, I should say, the first 2, and he's went out and said, Bednar, Chapman, hold up, like, you guys are going out there, we're running you guys into the ground today, so we're not going to look forward to tomorrow. Where, like, I think in years past, which was funny because there's also a team that wasn't good, they would save the guys. Well, we might need Bednar tomorrow, right? He's going out and he's chasing wins. We'll worry about tomorrow later. So, like, I do appreciate that. It's just that they haven't been fortunate enough to have the talent around them to say, well, tomorrow you also have a good enough pitcher to start. It's like, okay, now we got to scramble. Here's Ben Heller.
And I think you're right there because there are times they're up by 4 and they bring in Bednar. I'm like, it's actually probably a smart move there. Because
I don't hate it.
At the end of the day, there's a good chance you're going to burn him anyhow. Because if you bring in, as you said, Ben Heller, just using the poor guy as an example here, you bring him in, you're going to use Bednar anyhow. But I feel like after they get those 2 wins, that next day they end up going, you know what? We're going to lose this one no matter what. So let's just go ahead and toss out every terrible baseball player we have. There are times where it feels like they are just absolutely not trying to win a baseball game. Or they're at least not putting their best foot forward.
Yeah. And we have seen it. And again, I do think there's a lot you can talk about with Shelton. But that is one thing I have appreciated. You can question, like, why are you sending Bednar in today? Keep him rested. And I look at it and say, this team isn't good enough to feel like we can sit our best players. You have a chance to get that win, you take that win. They need it. Worry about tomorrow. And that's kind of how he's done it. It's just, again, like, it's been unfortunate because there hasn't been enough talent around them to go out tomorrow and still feel comfortable in whoever you're throwing out there to pitch. But I think that's changing a little bit. And again, like, that's what's a little bit different. If Martin Perez is coming back, Quinn Priester is getting healthy again, like, that's good enough, right? We're not subject to the bullpen game, which Luis Ortiz already used the day before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if there is a bullpen game, it's one bullpen game. And that bullpen game has been working. It's actually been flourishing, with like Carmen Mlodzinski and Luis Ortiz. But then, like, with Perez coming back and Quinn Priester, like, coming back shortly, Burrows is on the mend. He's on the rehab. Like, there's reinforcements coming. Health is coming. Like you mentioned, Paul Skeens is already here. This stretch, I think, won't be as noticeable in that sense, like you're talking about. I still want them to go after wins, but I don't think there's going to be too many throwaway days for that third game, if that makes sense. Now, if there is, then it's going to be more towards on Shelton.
You know what? I want Skeens, Jones, Keller, and in the order here, just for a series. Just go after a sweep here.
Oh, I want it.
Give me that.
I want it. What I'm doing, Tyler, is I'm saving you from the way some people talk on Twitter and saying this team needs to sweep Cincinnati. Like, it's June 16th or 17th at the time. Like, the team doesn't need to sweep Cincinnati. So don't say stupid stuff like that. But they do need to stack wins.
They do.
They basically have to be better than like 8 teams right now.
Yeah.
Going forward. And again, like it's not the end all be all, but like you want to feel good when they're adding at the deadline. You want to feel like, you know what, you guys really do look kind of legit. You're in a really good position. So I feel really good and confident for you guys going out there and adding, not feeling like it's not like, and again, this isn't to make the scenario the same, but it's not like the year where they bought and added Chris Archer.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I mean, I appreciate it, but are you guys really that good?
I loved it.
Again, like I loved it for the fact that it was Chris Archer, that you made a trade, you did that,
Right.
but like the team fooled you. You know what I mean? Like the team wasn't really there.
Right.
You would feel better if the team looked like they were really there this year.
No, absolutely. And some of these guys we're going to talk about it's going to go a long way towards that.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about first?
Who? You tell me, actually. You got the agenda.
Let's just start with a guy who has just been dominating. And as I say here, he is the best player ever in June. And it's Bryan Reynolds. Every single game in the month of June, and it's June 20th, every single game this month, he has gotten a hit in. He has a 190 weighted runs created plus. Ty. He's got 0.9 WAR. He's basically got a 1 WAR so far in the month of June. This guy is carrying this team right now offensively. Because here's the thing. We'll talk about Rowdy a little bit too. Rowdy's heated up. But like outside of him, Rowdy, and like O'Neal Cruz, everyone's kind of trash.
Like, and it's happened before, but Bryan Reynolds has single-handedly won you baseball games this month. And he's done it in years past as well. I don't know what it is about June, but this guy just murders baseball during that month. I wish I could really
408, 629. That's his slash.
No, obviously nobody can pinpoint anything that he does in that month, or else he would be this good all the time. For God's sake, all he does is rake baseballs in this month. It's vintage Kutch right now, where you let him get through his little stretch, and then all of a sudden, blistering baseballs.
Yeah,
and he has literally won you a baseball game. He just did it the other day. He won you a baseball game.
He literally, won the last baseball game. Which poor Hunter Green.
And then like July 1st hits, and he's back to he's above average. I don't know what it is, but I don't know, man. Like nothing changes with the swing day to day. He's just been consistent as it comes. I don't know if there are outside factors with Bryan Reynolds that happen to line up with June, but for God's sake, all he does is hit.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's just so weird. But I mean, like Kutch was a notorious slow starter. It wasn't like this long. It wasn't like until June when he heated up, right? But like we know, like Kutch was like a notorious slow starter. That was always like his thing. And it just seems like Bryan Reynolds' thing is once June comes, boom, we're good. Think about this. Less than a month ago, obviously, but like less than a month ago, and I'm not even talking comments. I'm talking amongst ourselves. You know, what's the most frustrating part of this team? You know, who is it? And like you could talk about legitimately Bryan Reynolds because he is the $100 million man. He is the guy who should be like the leader taking this offense. Like you want to see O'Neal Cruz take off and be that guy, right? But Bryan Reynolds has been that. He's been the stalwart. He's been that dude. And he's just sitting at like it was like at the time, I think like a 102 weighted runs created plus, like a 106. I mean, it's above average, right? But like he has and should be better than that. And here we are, fast forward just a few weeks later, and he's sitting at like a 123 weighted runs created plus. And like, it's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with Bryan Reynolds. This is perfect. But like, that's what June is for him.
It really is. It's not as bad as Adam LaRoche was, where he just was notoriously awful until a certain point of the year. But man, he's every year June comes around and Bryan Reynolds just kills the baseball.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has an answer, or else it would happen all the time.
I feel like Bucko
But-
Mike has one somewhere.
Yeah, he probably does.
Not that it's correct, but he has an answer of why it is. Right.
But I have nothing to add for why he's so good in June, because in July he's probably going to drop back to just being like a 110, 120 guy. But in June, whoo, he's an MVP player.
And like being a 110, 120 guy, like there's nothing wrong with that. You
That's
want
a
to see him
$100
more
million
towards
guy.
like the 120. But yeah, in the month of June, he has more or less carried this offense. Because like I said, and I did misspeak, also add Kutch in there, right? But like for this month, it's Rowdy Tellez. Yes, Rowdy Tellez, who's pretty much doing it. Bryan Reynolds, Kutch, and then Cruz. Those are the only 4 hitters with a weighted runs created plus above 100. So they're the only ones on this team right now hitting above league average. That's just 4 players. You have a lineup of 9 guys. So, like, again, like it just hasn't been good. And yes, we'll talk like Nick Gonzalez is part of that. You know, he's cooled off a bit. Obviously, Jared Triolo, Henry Davis. Like, we know the Jack Sawinskis, the Michael A. Taylors. I mean, just got a list of all the poor players. But yes, and ironically enough, Rowdy Tellez is actually the best hitter of all the players on the Pittsburgh Pirates in the month of June, ironically enough. He and his 209 weighted runs created plus, Tyler. So now he's only worth negative 0.6 WAR for the year.
Rowdy is negative 0.6. To give him his round of applause, it was worth 3 claps.
3 claps.
And look,
do you know what Carlos Santana's worth? Do you want to know?
Tell me.
Do we have to go there?
Yeah, we do.
1.2 coming into today, but he did have 3 hits, a double, and a home run. So he got his 12th home run. So he's probably worth about 1.3 WAR. So there's probably about a 2 WAR swing in there between the 2 players with Rowdy's hot June. But anyways, I digress.
Are we talking Rowdy?
I do want to talk Rowdy.
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned Rowdy, so let's just talk about him real quick here. He has been he's been hitting the ball well this month. The numbers support it. He's been, did you say the best hitter this team has in June?
He has.
Yes.
It's just been 41 plate appearances so far, but in those 41, he's batting 421, 463, slugging 632 for the 209 weighted runs created plus.
How many home runs?
1.
I don't care.
But it kind of looked like a home run yesterday. Greg Brown thought it was. Rowdy thought it was. Does that count? 1.9?
No,
home runs?
Sure don't.
Okay.
Sure don't.
He has 1.
Yeah, I don't care, because everybody and their mother, if you give them enough at bats like Rowdy Tellez has gotten, at some point they're going to run into a little luck. And Rowdy has hit the ball relatively hard. But everybody, if you give them at bats every day, at some point, and they're a Major League Baseball player, they will run into some luck here. Rowdy Tellez is not a 300 hitter. He's not a 250 hitter. He's not a 240 hitter. He's a 230, 220 type of guy with power. 1 home run, and we're in the 20th day of June. That tells me that everything that he has done to this month, has been straight up luck. Because he's not doing what he's here to do. You're here to hit the ball over the wall. You're not doing it. And when this luck runs out, you're going to be back to being Rowdy Tellez, the god-awful baseball player I don't want to watch.
So here's what I'm going to say to that. I believe you. I do. Because he isn't a guy that's signed because he's, like you said, a 300 hitter. He has a 500 BABIP. Now he's hit in 9 of 11 games this year. Also, like, keep that in perspective. He's hit in 9 of 11. But like, right, like that's not the type of guy. He's not a guy who hits for average. He hits for power. His performance is being done by average. Not so much power. Now I guess, I mean, by home run, right? 1 home run, but he does have 5 doubles, 16 hits, 5 doubles. Like the slugging is there, as Bucko Mike's in the chat. Got power, Rowdy Tellez, right? I don't know how much I believe in this either. One thing we've said is he's bad and he should have been DFA'd. That's my stance where I was before. I'm still comfortable in saying that. But no matter what, he was never that bad.
No.
Right. He was never that bad. So I think this is kind of like your point you're making. Like there was going to be a time where he was going to heat up a bit. But like, is he going to sustain this? I think we can say he's not going to sustain this. It's a 500 babe up. Like he's simply just not going to. But can he sustain half of it? That's all he needed to do to begin with. All I'm going to say is there is really no internal options.
No.
Connor Joe is praying that Rowdy is somewhat capable of doing this so he can get a damn day off sometime because he's also struggling hardcore. So I'm going to ride this out because like nothing's really going to happen at this point in time until the trade deadline. By that point in time, you're going to know.
Yeah, like they're very fortunate right now that Rowdy Tellez has finally ran into some baseballs and found some ball luck here. But he's not doing what he's signed to do. And you mentioned the BABIP.
BABIP is Bay.
BABIP. You mentioned that. There's no power with him. Rowdy Tellez cannot hit 300. It's never going to happen. Rowdy Tellez won't hit 280. It's not going to happen. He's going to go back to being Rowdy Tellez. The only thing that would be encouraging at this point is that if you went on a Jack Sawinski type of run, really, that's it. Then maybe I'd be like, we're getting there with Rowdy. This type of thing, John Nogowski hit like 380 for 2 weeks. John Nogowski is irrelevant in Major League Baseball. That's what Rowdy Tellez is doing right now.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Yeah, let it ride right now because he's still on the team, and honestly, he should be playing almost every day until he does cool off, which will be soon, by the way. And when he does, give it a week. You got to get rid of this guy. You can't keep hanging around because he got hot for less than a month.
But like, at what point is that? Like, okay, so you say, so
I give it a week.
What if
I'm done with him?
Well, I was going to say, like, what if June 30th hits and then the next week, right for the All-Star break, he struggles? You making that move then?
I'd make that move tomorrow anyhow, but like,
who you bringing up?
I don't care.
Well, but
I really don't care.
That's kind of where I'm at with this.
I don't have that answer right now because that obviously Jake Lamb's gone.
Yeah. And it's Seth Beers.
Yeah, that's the tough part here.
Gorski, but not Gorski. But anyways, I guess what I'm alluding to here,
Connor Joe. And you just let him ride at first base. And I don't love that, but they did not
self-imposed problem.
Well.
Like if the wheels fall off, like you're alluding to, it again is a self-imposed problem. They created this because this is the route they wanted to go with. So you got to lay in the bed that you made. However, I guess where I'm at though also is I say this often. So like if I don't bring this up, I'll come off disingenuous. I don't really believe in a lot of stuff unless there's like a fundamental change. When people just start hitting well out of nowhere. Okay, great. Like what you're talking about right here. But, and it was in their chat. Let me see it. But yeah, like Rowdy pretty much came out and said, you know what? I called dad. We heard that with Bryan, right? But like, I called dad and it's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm throwing everything out the window, just going back to my old ways. And since that time, you have seen this. Now, again, this isn't Rowdy Tellez. This is not what you can expect from Rowdy Tellez. But since the moment he said, more or less, Andy Haynes, goodbye, I'm just going to do my thing, he's gotten better. So, from the person who never wanted to see Rowdy to begin with and has been stomping on my soapbox that, look, we were right, I'm going to say there's not a whole lot you can really do until you actually make a fundamental upgrade to that position, because it really isn't internal. The only thing I can even attempt to look at is like bringing up Matt Gorski, but I don't believe that's going to truly work either. So at this time, I'm going to give him a little bit of run, as long as it doesn't just completely fall off tomorrow and then run like tomorrow through the All-Star break. But if he's still doing a little bit, like if he you said the week, that's what I'm saying. If it's just a week's time, I kind of want to see a little bit more. But again, I'm kind of looking at this like the first base position is what it is. Ben Cherington, you made this mess. Really can't be fixed until the All-Star break. So like Rowdy at this point in time probably has until the All-Star break, which is nuts, because who was the one talking about? Was it Destin or someone mentioned how like you're probably going to see Rowdy through mid-June, and here we are. And of course, it's at this time when he decided to turn it on.
Did Rowdy actually call his dad? Because I've missed this entire.
Yeah.
Dude, I might believe in Rowdy again.
Are you serious?
I might. Dad knows. Dad knows the swing. Dad knows how to get you back on track. And I know this is unsustainable. It is absolutely unsustainable. But getting back to, and what he's done has been hitting the ball the other way. That's first step. And then you can get out in front of the baseball. And Dad's seen this swing for his entire life. Dad taught the swing. I might be back in on Rowdy.
Hey, Mr. Tellez.
I might be back.
Coach Tellez.
I might.
Again, I don't want to, like, I'm a stickler. If there's something fundamentally different, which is the catalyst for production, then I'm intrigued. If someone's just getting hot, whatever, you are who you are. But he said, screw this. Again, he can't simply be as bad as he is. He's got to be better. I don't know how much better he's going to be. This is a facade. But can he be a average hitter? I'm willing to see it out at this point in time with the new and improved Rowdy Tellez-ish. Also, though, you've hit one home run. Dog, like, get your ass running to first base. Don't do that again.
That's true. He has hit one home run, but if he talked to Dad and Dad got him back to a certain point, maybe the next step is that power. I don't know. Like, Dad's seen the swing a long time. I might be back in. I might be all the way back in. He left me. I might be. Listen, like, if you're not listening to your dad on your swing, your dad has seen your swing since the day you were born, basically. Dad knows it. I might be back in. I will decide tomorrow. Again,
I'm willing to just let it play out until the trade does. And again, unless it's just terrible. If it falls off a cliff and it's just terrible for like 2 straight weeks, I might at that point say, okay, you know what? This was a 2-week stretch. Rowdy, we're done here. Let me at least get Gorski a little bit of a run until the trade deadline.
And the difference,
and it isn't because I think Gorski's the answer. It's because you're not. If Gorski can at least get me through the deadline, that's how I look at it. But I'm giving Rowdy some run here. I'm letting him reprove himself to me.
Rowdy's dad didn't play in Major
Can
League
Michael A.
Baseball.
Taylor call his dad, please? Well,
No, call your dad that didn't play Major League Baseball, who doesn't have buddies in the major leagues. Stick with your Little League dad knowledge, who's going to make it simple for you. And then all of a sudden you're hitting, I don't know, like 400. Rowdy might be back.
we'll
Rowdy
find
might
out.
be back. If he listens
We'll
to dad, he
find
might
out.
be back. I'm actually not joking at all. Rowdy might be back.
You know, I know you're not either. Something as stupid as him calling his dad.
Yeah, Rowdy might be
But
back.
sometimes he's got to get back down to the basics.
Really though?
Like I know Ford has talked about this actually a lot. Just you have so many voices,
You do.
so many voices, right? So many
You
people pulling in
do.
every direction. You got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. Sometimes you just think, tune them out. Call dad.
Like people might think I'm joking right now. I'm not joking.
I know you're not.
It
I know you're not.
It's a real thing. Dad's seen the swing. Dad knows what you're doing. Rowdy might be back. If Rowdy hits,
We've
oh my
talked too
God.
much about
Can
this.
you imagine if Rowdy hits a home run on Saturday?
Stop it, Tyler. Stop.
I'm gonna prance around the ballpark, and I'm gonna find his dad if he's there.
Okay.
And tell him
Can we
I
move
hated
on?
your son until you talk to him.
Can we move on? This is too much Rowdy already.
Yeah, I'm good with.
We got to. I'm not. This is too much love. Too much love for Rowdy. I
Yeah,
feel.
it's way
I
too
feel
much.
dirty right now.
I don't like. He talked to his dad. His
All
dad
right.
gave him tips. Like, oh, I love it.
Well, does Nick need to talk to his dad next? Because let's talk about Nick Gonzalez.
Oh God. Okay.
There's not too many. I mean, I told you the offense. There's only two other guys that we can talk
Go
about
on.
right now. We talked about Reynolds. We talked about Rowdy. It's only Kutch or O'Neal Cruz to talk about in a good way. They're the only productive hitters. We've talked about them too enough. Trust me. By the way, Andrew McCutcheon is doing very well. My DH baby. But Nick Gonzalez, I mean, we were talking him up. I mean, ever since he came up, he's been looking good. He's been producing. He's tailed off a bit. And I say that like ironically, you know, I could look up the game log. I don't know. But like he has hits in games. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like he's had like 2 or 3 or 4 games in a row, 5 games. He has no hits, right? He's collecting hits still like almost every game. But it's like 1 a game. You know, he goes 1 for 4. So he's actually not doing too well in the month of June. You know, he's leveled off. And so I guess my question to you is, are you worried?
I guess that depends on how the Pirates handle him at this point. Because, and the Sabermetrics crowd probably won't like this, but the Pirates have hit him in the 4 spot a lot this month, and they've hit him in the 6 spot a lot this month. If you look at Nick Gonzalez, and I know that a lot of people do not believe that batting order and where you hit in the lineup matters. Nick Gonzalez rakes baseball in the 5 spot. 4 spot, I mean, think about it if you're a pitcher. If you see a 4 hitter, he's not seeing a fastball. What does Nick Gonzalez not do well? He doesn't hit much off speed very well. 6 spot, you got 7, 8, 9 coming up. I'm not going to let this guy hurt me. He's going to see junk. 5 spot, you still got a little bit of leeway there. And it was the same thing with Pedro Alvarez for some reason. Pedro raked baseballs hitting 5th. Pirates never played him there. They never hit him there. The cleanup position has always been kind of a nightmare with the Pirates in general. They just can't ever find a cleanup hitter. He's hit, I think, 1 time in the 5 hole this entire month. and I think he had 2 hits that night. He's at 4th or 6th or somewhere else below that every other time. Let the guy get comfortable in a spot. Let him learn where he is. And we talked about this with O'Neal Cruz previously, where we want to see him hit leadoff and just stick with it. Let him see the same type of stuff all the time. Same thing with Nick Gonzalez. Let him hit 5th because that's where he is successful right now. Who are you going to hit there? Edward Olivares? I don't want to see him there. Nick Gonzalez actually matters to this team.
Yeah.
Let him get comfortable in one spot. Let him see the same type of pitching. Is he going to get pitched differently as he has gotten better at the major league level? Sure. But let him do it in the same spot and quit messing with him every single time. Play the guy where he's his best.
So I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Now, I'll say this, though. I thought he was producing better in the 6 hole, but now that I look at it, again, not terrible, right? 94 weighted runs created plus in the 6 hole. But however, in the 4th hole, a negative 52 weighted runs created plus. And so I wanted to say that because of a comment that I think Ryan brought up in a post game that I was on with him. So it might have been about 2 weeks ago. And, he said, like, is it time to move up Nick Gonzalez because of how well he's producing?
Yeah.
And like my response was, and I remember pretty vividly, you can absolutely make a case. And I don't know if I'll be opposed to doing it because there's certainly a case because who is in the 5 hole, who's in the 4 hole. It's kind of, they make you a little bit nervous in the way he's performing, right? He's getting all the RBIs. It makes sense to be like maybe in the 4 or 5 hole, right? But what I said was, but it's working. Do you want to take that away? Like he's in the 5 hole and it's working. I would rather him be hitting 5th and producing than tinkering with him and then not producing. It's still a lot of small sample size. So like, I'm not going to say you're right, which again, is like what I'm alluding to here as well. Like,
right.
I don't know if it's right. And like someone here said too, like he had a 107 weighted runs created plus in June coming into the Cincinnati series. And then of course that series, which I do take back what I said. He's hitless in the last 3 games. So there is a 1 3-game span that he has no hits. It could just be a bad series. But in that series, he hit 4th every time. So I don't know what the correlation really is, but what I can say was I was okay with him hitting 6 because he was producing. I am on the side of what you alluded to, and I think what Shelton does poorly at, it's working, so don't break it. And again, I don't know if that's correct or not. I'm not totally worried. I will say that. One thing that does worry me a little bit with this entire run and that he's been doing, he doesn't walk much. And by the way, for the month of June, he hasn't walked at all. For the month of June, his on-base percentage is actually lower than his batting average for the entire month, right? like that worries me a little bit. But what I've seen in this swing, what I've seen in what he's doing, I'm not worried that Nick Gonzalez is going to go back to, not yet at least, like, oh, you know what? Yeah, he's not that prospect.
No, I agree with you, but I also think that when you put him in that cleanup spot, that he's not a cleanup hitter. And obviously, when he produces as many RBIs as he did, you're going to do what you have to do and try to move that guy up and see if it works. I don't think it worked. So I think the solution here is just give him maybe a week or 2 in that 5 spot. Let him stay where he's comfortable because I don't care what anybody says. Where you hit in the lineup matters. There's a reason some guys just hit better in certain spots.
I also think it depends on who the person is.
It does.
But we are also
there are
talking
very
about
few people who can move around a lineup every day and are successful.
Yeah, but again, like to your point, you're also talking, this isn't like a vet. This isn't a guy who's done it everywhere and everywhere. Like Kutch in this day and age, you probably don't feel as worried.
You know what?
Although, again, you want him lead off spot, like, and you want that consistency. But like,
no, like Kutch is actually the answer to that question there. Because how bad was he until he hit leadoff every day?
Well, he really wasn't. He really
wasn't
wasn't.
good.
No, there was a lot of bad luck.
But
But he does excel at leadoff. I'll say that. But what I'm
even
alluding to
just
with Gonzalez is he's also young. Like he's coming back and finally finding success. So let him stay consistent with that until at least you're at some point in time where it's like, okay, you're good, dog. Like go. But 5 weeks into it, like you're already starting to tinker with it. That's to me, it's too young to do that.
there's too much movement in the lineup, I think,
Mhm.
where you don't know where you're hitting day to day. You hit 5 one day, you hit 6, and you hit 4, then you stay at 4, and he's not a 4 hitter.
Mhm.
It's not who he is. He's gonna get breaking stuff all the time. He's not a breaking ball hitter. He's a guy that's gonna jump on a fastball. That's why he's been successful to this point. He's jumping on fastballs. You're taking away his greatest strength at this point. Stick him 5. Let's let it ride out a little while. Let him get hot, and then we'll find a 4 hitter. I don't know who it is. There's no Starling Marte on this team that just swings at everything and can hit a ball in the dirt, but there's actually
There's
not
a lot
an
of guys
answer.
that swing at nothing
There's not
and
an
don't hit
answer.
anything.
There's no answer.
And
They
like
don't have a cleanup
my counter to this, and like Jim, you're not wrong. Like Hayes not hitting is the main culprit here. Sure, like the fact that this line, like you have to make him fourth because there's only 3 competent hitters. Like I get that, but do you want 2 below average guys in the lineup, or do you want one who's still going to be below average no matter where you put them, and one who's going to be 30% better? That's what you had. I mean, again, the guy was leading in RBIs since his call up in that 5 spot with those issues. So again, like that's where I'm at. I understand it's not the ideal lineup, but that's what's worked for Nick Gonzalez. So like
Yeah.
just allow that continue to work for him.
I'm absolutely with you. Especially
But
with a young
hey,
guy like him.
we're gonna get Rowdy in a cleanup spot here. So yes, there you go. There's the answer. Rowdy's cleanup. Nick is batting 5th. Problem solved.
Sure. Yeah.
Call dad.
Just stick with it. We'll stick with what dad told you. We'll go with that. I was actually trying to look up what Bryan Reynolds was. He's actually hit second all year. Man.
Yeah. Played every game.
But
hit second.
They have, over his career, they've moved him around a lot. And
most of his career has been with Shelton.
Yeah. Just there was one year with Clint Hurdle where it was probably 2016. I think the first 2 months they just left guys where they were. Well, one of our bloggers should go back and look at that. See how that did.
Just to bring that point up, you talk about Kutch. The sabermetric world talk that Kutch should have been batting second for how long?
Yeah. Right.
And I was a big proponent of that back then too.
Me
when
too.
NS9 was a blog the first time around, and I was actually writing. We discussed that, Ryan and I. I was all about Kutch batting second, and kind of prove your point. He went second, and it did not go well. And why didn't it go well?
Terribly.
He wasn't comfortable there. The idea of Kutch batting second makes all the sense in the world. But if the player isn't at his best there, you don't do it. You don't want a lesser Kutch because he's batting second. You'd rather have a better Kutch who's batting third. And again, that's my issue with this. And again, I'm not saying that we're right or wrong in this. It's still way too early. However, there's some correlation here to what we're saying. I would much rather have a good Nick Gonzalez batting 5th than a very, very bad one batting 4th.
No, I'm with you. Like, I used to get in arguments about this all the time, and I was a proponent of batting order doesn't matter. Then, like, you move on to the human element of it, which I think is disregarded by everybody that talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, these guys are just comfortable where they are. And they get different pitches. They really do. Now, granted, you have to have different guys around you. But Kutch hitting second didn't work. Bryan Reynolds was a 3-hitter for a long time. It did work, and Bryan Reynolds is weirdly different where he's just going to swing the way he swings, unless it's June. But there's just guys that you can move around. There's guys you can't. And some of the best players in baseball, you don't move them. They've never been moved.
There you go. But ultimately, I think what we're both trending towards saying here is I'm not worried about Nick Gonzalez yet.
No.
But there's nothing right now that worries me. You imagined he wasn't going to hold up what he was doing all, this whole entire time anyways. He's having a slump. Like right now, I look at it, he's having a slump. I'm not worried. Let's see how long this lasts, though. Then we'll start talking. But, 3 straight games, he has no hit. Before then, though, as I mentioned, like he's still pulling off hits here every single game, just about. I'm not worried. Not worried.
No. Strikeout rate is starting to creep up. We're at like 23% now. We're creeping. It's a very slow creep, but it's going.
It's a very slow creep. I mean, for the month of June, it's at 22.7. Like, that's still not, again, that doesn't worry me. Right? Again, what does worry, if I'm going to be worried, to go back to what I said, if there's something that's going to worry me right now, it's the 0% walk rate. It's that he's had 66 plate appearances and not one walk in the month of June. It's that he's hitting 250, but his on base is 242. Like that's the part that worries me a little bit. But some guys, that's just part of their game too. Like you mentioned about Starling Marte. It wasn't like Starling Marte walked. He got on base a lot because he got hit a lot, but he didn't walk a lot. Some guys can do it. Still be productive.
So basically, you're just not a fan of Radiohead. I'm a creep.
Wait, what?
Never mind.
Oh, Radiohead, creep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, first off, you said creeping. And actually, when you said creeping,
no, creeping is an Eric Church
come
song.
up. I was thinking Bone Thugs and Harmony, not Radiohead.
God,
but we can go both ways there.
God, no.
Creeps on my my sleep playlist.
Great.
So I probably hear it every night too.
Also, acoustic version.
Acoustic versions are great for almost every song.
It really is.
Almost.
No, it's great for everything.
We're going down a wildly different path here. Let's get back to baseball.
Yeah, baseball. That's the thing.
Okay, so we talked about Nick Gonzalez here. Let's talk about Carmen Mlodzinski.
Slider
Is this
man.
bullpen okay?
So I don't know if it's okay, right? Because at this point, Colin Holderman is putting together probably the best year you could ever imagine from Colin Holderman. Looking at him, he always felt like.
Fair,
yeah, go ahead.
If any reliever had those stats, you could say that for any reliever. Like that's true. How good he is.
Yeah. But I don't know if we ever thought he'd get to this level because the height, mechanically, I don't know if he could ever really be consistent with it. But man, he's found a way to just be absolutely disgusting. He's so good right now. And really, if he's left off an all-star list, it's going to be questionable because he's been that good. He's one of the better relievers in baseball right now. He's been so good. Bednar has quietly found his groove.
Yeah.
Like, we had those episodes where we talked about Bednar and discussed if he's back or not. And I think you said a couple weeks ago, oh, he's back. I was still hesitant on it. David Bednar is kind of back now. He comes in, I'm not really concerned. Chapman still numbers wise, he's there, but every time it's just a roller coaster. And
But
then
I don't
aside from
trust
that,
it.
no, not at all. Aside from that, there was nothing. Like we talked about the back three, and we thought they had enough below it to get them through a year. And then Moretta gets hurt, Rocky gets hurt, Mlodzinski gets hurt. Mlodzinski comes back, he's bad. Mlodzinski's been good. Lately, he's been really good. The slider looks really good. The fastball looks back. He looks like he's dangerous again.
I'm with you on that. I think he could be the biggest piece to this bullpen. And it's because you know what you have on the back end. You know Bednar, what he and I'm with you. I take everything to, you know what? It was just the spring training, the injury. Because since May, he has been good. The strikeouts haven't been there, but they've been starting to creep back up too. Notice I use creep again for you. I'm not worried about David Bednar one bit. And what Colin Horderman is doing is just outstanding. Yes, Chapman. Hold on to your butts. Like he's the epitome of that GIF right there. Like results wise, he has what, a 1.35 ERA in the month of June. But it's like, how many times do you have to hear and watch and see the baseball be hit and go, oh, that's right, the balls are dead. That's why it didn't leave the yard. Because it's like, I swear, every time he gets one that goes like 387, stays in the park for a loud out. I'm nervous when Aroldis Chapman goes in, but he's getting the job done. But we knew that those three, like we talk about, like they're hanging every win on the starting pitching does what they do. And then you have to go to the big three. You have to go Holderman with Chapman in there and David Bednar close out. When those guys aren't available, what do you have? That's why I feel like Mlodzinski is like the biggest part, because he's the joker in this. If he can do what he's doing right now, which is a very good level, you got four guys. Like now you can kind of start figuring things out. Now you can start not having to rely on just those three every single time. He could be a big part of this bullpen being successful in getting this team through the trade deadline.
Absolutely. And it's not even just Mlodzinski, it's Hunter Stratton as well. Because he's another guy who's performed really well. But, and actually, I got to find the comment here. Anthony here brings up the middle relievers. Like, Stratton's a guy at this point that kind of has to move into that Baraki and Dowry Moretta role. In that 6th, 7th inning, when you don't have we talked about the big three in the bullpen. The big three in the rotation is another thing. When you don't have that, you have to have a guy that can eat that 5th, 6th, 7th.
Right.
Hunter Stratton's another guy, I think. And aside from that, they got nothing.
But I want to make sure you're remembering. He's on the IL, right?
Yeah. Oh, I do. But he's another guy. Like,
okay.
That's the guy you.
So, like, he's probably not doing too much to the trade deadline.
I know, but that's another guy you need.
Gotcha. And I will say, I felt he was getting more hate than deserved.
It's him, Mlodzinski, and then the rest. I think you can throw Nicholas in that mix with stuff, quote unquote. The rest of them, I don't see the stuff.
I know there's comments here. I know some people like him. As Anthony even starts off here saying, even Nicholas.
Yeah.
Like results wise, you look at Nicholas for the month of June. Like it's a 4 ERA. I mean, it's whatever. Like he's striking out 12 per 9, the 9 innings he has. I don't trust. Maybe it's just me, and I'll own this if he does turn it around. But I just don't trust and believe in Cal Nicholas. And I know the stuff's there, but it just looks like it's just the epitome of this. That's why he's a reliever, because he has no control.
Yeah.
It's it just I don't believe in Kyle Nicholas. Sure, he's been improving. To me, this is kind of like the Rowdy improvement in that sense of like,
Right.
okay, like he's having a hot June, which is leading to his 4 ERA. Yeah, I don't trust Nicholas in there. That's me.
And no, I absolutely agree with you, but the other guy that we just keep like stomping on, and I'd be really curious what happens if this team ever does develop an actual 5-man rotation. Luis Ortiz has been really good. He's been really good.
Yeah, I guess I kind of omit him in like the
Me
bullpen
too.
because of
Like
his role.
I forget about him.
His role is very crucial. Also, it's different though,
Right.
but he has been very important to this team. Honestly, like think about those 2 bullpen games with Mlodzinski and Luis Ortiz. That's 2 games in a row. I should say two rotation spots in a row, if you want to call that. That like they had to come together and they were just lights out, fantastic. Like this team had to rely on a bullpen, and they did everything you asked of it. And again, like Luis Ortiz, there's nothing about him. Okay, like he's like the anti. Would this be fair? He's like the anti Kyle Nicholas. Kyle Nicholas has all
Yeah.
this stuff, but you don't trust it and you don't get the results. Where it's like Luis Ortiz gets the results and you trust him, but
Yeah.
like you don't understand why because it doesn't have like the stuff.
Yeah. But he has stuff. He just doesn't use it.
Well, we know it's there somewhere. He just
Right.
isn't use it.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't have it anymore. I don't know. Maybe he lost
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he just suddenly couldn't throw 100.
Maybe he's got to call dad too.
He might.
But he has been. He's been very fundamental for this team's success, I say loosely, but for them to be just 2 games under 500 right now.
Right. No, it is actually like somehow this bullpen has slightly pieced itself together, and bullpens are very volatile. At some point, we're going to be talking about them being terrible again. And they really shouldn't be, because the 3 guys they have in the back end, it shouldn't be a question mark. The middle relievers are going to be a question mark. It is what it is. Plain and simple, there's not enough depth here. They need more guys that can give you the Hunter Stratton type of innings, so that when he goes on the IL, we're not begging for a Kyle Nicholas to put together a Hunter Stratton type of run.
I know. There's 2 ways you can go about that. Do you want me to piss off Anthony Murphy or not for my first one?
Yeah, do it. We're far enough from Starbucks.
You can bring in Braxton Ashcraft to do that, because I think he could come in and be a very fundamental part of this bullpen success also, because if Mlodzinski's doing what he's doing and you have Ashcraft in here with his limited innings and you say, hey, you know what? We're going to give those innings for the rest of the Pirates season. You're an MLB pitcher here from day one. As Anthony says, okay, I'm out. I wouldn't hate that. Now, of course, Anthony has vocally said as well, which I also can agree with. Like, by no means is he wrong. You can say, like, Ashcraft, the difference is he's also a Pirate today. You can put him into rotation today, and that's how you stretch out innings on the starters, right? And help them out that way. That's one way. Or again, like the trade deadline's coming. If they can at least get through this portion. And that's why Mlodzinski, I think, is going to be fundamental, because there's a huge difference between going from like 3 relievers to 4.
Yeah.
And we're getting back to with this bullpen. Like, again, we highlighted the bullpen. It was because there's Mlodzinski, there's Holderman, there's Bednar, and Chapman. And if those guys are finally these guys that you thought of and they're here now, that's going to be very helpful for them getting through to the deadline. And then they can acquire some middle relievers to tighten that up.
It's not gonna happen. They're gonna
I
keep
tried,
adding on to
guys.
scrap heat.
I tried.
There's no way they're acquiring a single middle reliever that's not off the scrap heap. There's no way, man.
We'll see.
I think what they have is what they have. We're gonna end up with like a Tyler Beatty type of guy. He's gonna be terrible, and then we're gonna.
Do you mean that in the actual player or the father hating Jim?
No, that's an example of don't call dad.
There you go.
If that is
Shout out to Walter.
Plain and simple. Major League Baseball players, here's my PSA. If your dad is on Twitter, do not call him.
There you go.
I don't think Rowdy's dad's on Twitter. And if he is, he doesn't tweet. Because he would have tweeted at me at some point.
There's a lot of people he would have been tweeting at.
Yeah.
We would have known.
I think that's the answer right there. Is your dad on Twitter? No. Okay, call him. Is your dad on Twitter? Yes. Don't. Stay away.
That's essentially your chart. So the chart is,
Yeah.
Are you struggling? Right? And then you have the two lines go below.
Yep.
Is your dad on Twitter? Is your dad not on Twitter? The answer is yes, call. The answer is no. Or opposite. The answer is yes, don't call. The answer is no, call. I
think we just figured out how to develop a Major League Baseball team.
Let's do it.
We're so good at this.
We are. We get trashed all the time. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, do you not see the shirt? Anywho, all right. So so we kind of talked about everyone we want to talk about. I think that's fundamental so far in June. Either for good or bad reasons. Anything else?
I don't have much else. I think
Are
we
you worried about Jared Jones? Make this quick.
God, no.
Okay.
No.
He starts Saturday for the tailgate.
We'll talk about Saturday. We got a post game of Permanis.
Where?
Mantis. Where?
There you go.
Guess
Market
whose
Square.
dad loves to go? Mine.
Who? Is he on Twitter?
No. God, no.
Call him.
Should. He might give us some tips.
I want to see your Permane sandwich eating performance at peak on Saturday because you're going to have a couple of them that day.
He's a capicola and cheese type of guy as well as myself.
With an egg?
He'll dabble in an egg if I'm paying.
You're paying?
He doesn't like to spend the extra $1 if it's his.
Tell him we got him this time.
Yeah.
Tell Dad to
He'll
come
be
out.
fine. Dad'll be fine.
Cool. Well, then, yeah, as we said earlier, and right now, Saturday, just a few days, we'll be in Pittsburgh. We'll be at the we'll literally at the tailgate. We're tailgating. We're hosting it. We're gonna have a tailgate out there. So if you haven't RSVP'd yet, you're gonna be out there and want to. Again, Permane Brothers is sponsoring and catering it, so we're gonna have sandwiches. So RSVP coming out there. We'll see you. 12 o'clock it starts. Up until game time, we'll be going over and have a good time. I can't wait. I'm excited. And then after the game, we're doing the post-game show at Permane Brothers in Market Square.
And I get to meet Jonquil.
And you get to meet Jonquil. I'm so excited. Sorry for your ears.
So excited.
True story. I will end with this. True story. And this was like a decade ago. My cousins and my aunt and uncle were in Disney because I think it was like a school event. And I don't really do roller coasters. I'll say that. And my uncle wanted to ride the I forget what roller coaster it is, but it's in Animal Kingdom, the Yeti, whatever. It goes like both ways, it goes frontwards and backwards. No one would do it, so Jonquil was like, I'll do it. And my uncle came off and he's like, I can't hear because Jonquil was screaming in his ear the entire time. And like the entire day, he literally couldn't hear. So again, I envy everybody who's going to meet Jonquil on Saturday.
That explains every night of my PlayStation life.
And it's so funny. I don't hear because I have the door closed and you guys are in my ears and you guys DiNardo, Jonquil's yelling for you.
I might end up taking shots with Jonquil. Who knows?
All right, let's get out of here.
Hey, we got a solo show with me tomorrow. That's gonna be fun.
Oh, that's right. Because everyone's traveling. We're going to be somewhere tomorrow except for Tai.
Just me. I'm the only one around.
Well, do we know who's pitching yet?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a bullpen game.
Good luck, Carmen and Luis.
Yeah. Oh, good luck, me.
Good luck, all you watchers tomorrow.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Whatever happens tomorrow happens.
If they don't win, there is no incentive to watch tomorrow's post-game show because you ain't getting sandwiches and you got just Tyler. I'm out. I mean, I'm not going to watch the post-game show probably.
I'm gonna. We'll be good. We'll be good. Me and the chat, we're gonna have a good time.
You know, I trust you. You will.
Oh, we'll be fine.
The chat loves you. A lot of people love you. I don't know why.
No, they don't.
I mean, a lot of people do hate you also.
No, most people hate me.
You get a lot of love.
I think we're starting to turn. Like people hated me. People hate me in the off season. They like me during June.
Because you were right.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's get out of here. This is off the rails again. I'm going to listen to Creep by Radiohead. We'll see you guys Saturday.
Couldn't look you in the eye.
Bye-bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.